Alrighty guys, welcome to this episode of the Moses Monocle. Today we have a little bit of a short one, and it's probably going to be a little bit less edited because this is a very short and just quick game called Narita Boy. So I actually didn't expect or really know anything going into Narita Boy. I just saw a different YouTuber kind of play it, talk about it for a little while. I just really like the aesthetic and the style, and I'm just going to say right off the bat, if you're watching the gameplay that's on screen right now and you're thinking the same thing, that this is kind of up your alley, just the classic style side scroller, then definitely try this game out. Spoiler alert for the review, it's really good. I really enjoyed this game, and it's just a fun time. It's a small game. It took me about, I'd say, 5 to 6 hours to finish, and if you're looking at the gameplay, you kind of probably already understand what kind of game this is. It's very inspired by the old pixel art side-scrolling games of the past, with a very sort of cyberpunky 80s aesthetic to it, which I really enjoyed. Now, I do want to briefly, and hopefully without spoilers, just kind of give an overall say of what the story is. So your main quest is to defeat him, who is a sentient like AI that controls the red beam of the trichroma, which the trichroma is red, yellow, and blue. He's trying to absorb the yellow and blue and pretty much take over the digital kingdom, which again, a lot of this is not going to make sense, but I don't really want to spoil anything. But essentially, you are Narita Boy, and you're the hero of the digital kingdom. So you're going through each of the 4 zones, which take place in each of the light beams. So there's the blue zone, the yellow zone, and the red zone. And there's this sort of final end zone, which I won't touch on again because spoilers. But the Digital Kingdom is actually a game that this guy makes who's called The Creator, but he loses his memories because of something that him did. So the goal is not only to defeat him, but also restore the creator's memories. There's a lot more to it than that, but again, don't want to get into spoilers, which the story I actually ended up liking a lot, and it stuck with me. It has a real emotional hit point, a couple of them actually. It's not just a story that's just kind of thrown in there to be there. It's actually something that developers focused on and has a lot of passion behind it. I definitely appreciate it.
Narita Boy, Narita Boy, Narita Boy. Save the world, save the world, save the world, save the world, save the world. Narita Boy, Narita Boy, Narita Boy, save the world.
Now I want to get into the actual combat and gameplay of Narita Boy. So as Narita Boy, you wield the Techno Sword. Using this sword at the beginning of the game, you have access to a simple sword swing combo, a dash, a close range shotgun move, and like a big charged laser beam, which the shotgun and the laser beam are tied to this sort of ammo that regenerates over time, which you can use one shell to shoot the shotgun, or use all 3 shells at once to do the big laser beam. As you progress through the game, you gain more and more abilities to add to your arsenal, things like an aerial swing or a guard-breaking shoulder charge. As you get deeper into the game, a lot of the combat revolves around you deciding and using the appropriate moves to take down different enemy types. One of the things I found particularly cool is that a lot of the enemy types are introduced as mini-bosses, but then become sort of part of the general crowds of enemies that you fight as you progress through the game, which is a great way of showing just how much more powerful you as Narita Boy becomes with all of his new abilities, and just as you get mechanically better at the game and knowing which abilities to use for specific enemies. Now, Narita Boy is not a particularly difficult game, but I don't really think it's intended to be, since there is no difficulty select at all. There's no easy, medium, hard. You just get the game how it comes, and that's it. And through my playthrough, I never really had any issues defeating any bosses or getting through any particular levels. But yes, I did die a number of times while playing the game. But the only real penalty for dying is being reset to the beginning of the exact fight you died in, or the exact general area of the level that you died in, so it's really not that big of a deal here. Personally, I don't really see this as an issue because I wasn't looking for a super hard challenging game in this, and it's clear that that's not what the developer is trying to make either, but it's just worth mentioning that if that difficulty level and grind is something that you're a huge fan of, then sadly you're not going to be able to find it here in Narita Boy. Now, what you will find in Narita Boy is amazing presentation and design. I talked enough about the visual style and the graphics at the beginning of the video, and really just from watching the gameplay on the screen, you can get a good idea of exactly what this game is visually. But in short, it wears its 80s techno inspiration on its shoulder, and it's stunning the whole way through. However, the part of the presentation that I loved the most was the soundtrack. And if I did my editing job right with this video, the soundtrack has been playing throughout the entirety of it. And again, to put it simply, the soundtrack fucking bangs. Unlike other games where the 16-bit art style is matched with a chiptune or 8-bit soundtrack, the music in Narita Boy is closer to the synth-heavy pop of Daft Punk. Rest in peace, by the way. Honestly, there's no point in me even explaining the music anymore. Just listen to this battle theme. Nearly every boss, every battle, every different zone all have their own unique tracks, and each one is just as good as the last, and that's honestly really all I have to say about it. The presentation of Narita Boy, both visually and musically, is absolutely perfect. Now I want to talk about the few negatives I have with Narita Boy, which in reality I only have one. The first being the walls of text that is up to you to read throughout the whole game. The digital realm is a very spiritual place for the characters within it, and every dialogue with NPCs within this world are filled with spiritual, biblical speech mixed in with exaggerated techno-babble. Now these dialogues are largely separate from the main story of the creator and Narita Boy, so fortunately this doesn't take away from the overall understanding of the actual main story of the game. But if you really want to get into the lore of the digital kingdom itself, then you'll be forced to read dialogues such as, "Woohoo, we were simple merchant programs. They used to come from all over the digital kingdom in search of our prized handicrafts, boohoo. And in exchange, we could show them the transcendental codes to visit the oasis. An enclave of deep knowledge, a mystical place where the green hexadecimal blooms in the middle of the desert simulation. Boohoo." Every single dialogue from NPCs is written in a similar fashion, and while at the beginning of the game I did find it charming and interesting just to see how the writers of the game would mix these exaggerated tech words into these spiritual phrases, but I grew tired of it pretty fast, and for the majority of the game I just spammed through the text in order to just get back to the actual gameplay. While I do think some people will really enjoy the creativity of the dialogue, and actually probably look forward to reading through these different dialogues from different characters, just to see how they all phrase their techno-babble, but for me personally, I just skipped through pretty much all of it. Alright, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about specific parts of the game, so let's get into the overall rating. As I said already, I absolutely love Narita Boy, and I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 on the Moses Monocle scale. Again, really the only complaint I had was with the walls of text that I just mentioned, but other than that, this is just a great, polished, passion-filled little indie game. Not going to take you too long to finish. And even from gameplay standards, it doesn't revolutionize anything, but it is just super memorable because of its art style and its soundtrack. I just have nothing but positive outlook on this game and nothing but positive things to say about this game, to be honest. And as far as I'm aware, this is the first game that the developers of this game, Studio Koba, have actually released. So correct me if I'm wrong on that in the comments. I couldn't find anything on their website about any other releases or games. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on Studio Koba and any work they do in the future, because as of right now, if this really is their only game that they've released, the first game that they've come out with, then they got a perfect track record in my book. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Moses Monocle. As you can see in this one, I actually played Narita Boy over on Twitch, so if you're interested in that, link down in the description. Also, let me know if there's any other games you guys want me to play and review, whether they're coming up, releasing soon, or brand new, or maybe just some stuff that's a bit older that I just haven't played through yet. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.
Saving the world, Narita Boy.